Evening. 25th of March. We need a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion, I'm speaking up. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi, Bill.
Oh, that's right. We have to do a roll call. Aye, Sally.
Aye, Ron.
Hi, Lisa.
Aye, Jamie.
Hi, Joe.
Aye, Karen.
Okay, we're good.
For tonight. Matt, you're not on our agenda, so why don't you go first? Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You have questions?
Yeah, I just had a question. I heard last night at our Campus of Bog meeting about the Gould Meadows, and I was just interested in the potential of prescribed burning that I heard there was a possibility of.
Last fall, there was no burning because of the dry conditions. The fall before that, it rained the whole time we were gonna burn. So last fall, we mowed. So there's basically no burn feasible till next fall. And I think
2026 or this coming?
this
fall?
coming fall.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that's possible. I have not heard any more on it. I'll check during the summer.
Gotcha. And is it planned for seeding afterwards? Is anyone planning on seeding, or is it just burning?
Just to burn.
Gotcha.
It'll get rid of a few of the invasives. Most of the stuff will come right back, but there was a lot of thatch that
Right.
was kind of holding things down, and that was part of the goal, to burn it off closer to the ground
Mhm.
so it could reseed. But we mowed last year with flail mowers rather than the brush hog.
Mhm.
But it's pretty close right now, so come September, we'll see what it looks like.
Gotcha. Well, I'll just put my name out there. I'd love to learn more about it and help in any way that I can.
Okay? We'll mark you down.
Please do.
You offer, you're on the list.
I figured I have a baby. I might as well just add more on top.
Don't
Hopefully-
bring the baby to the burn.
I won't bring the baby to the burn. No. Well, thank you for hearing me out.
All right, hopefully it'll work out this year, but I can't tell.
No problem. Have a good night.
Take care,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Matt.
11 Wheatley Drive, have we heard any more?
No, we're waiting for the submitting of the NOI, which must be heard on the 22nd of April. If we do not get it by then we will issue another enforcement order and institute fines.
And do they have that in writing?
Yes.
Great.
Request determine of applicability for Hawthorne Street, Bullard Woods. Have we gotten anything more?
Yeah, we've got David and Robin on for that.
All right, David, Robin, talk to us about your plans for Bullard Woods. Can you hear us?
Yes, hi, this is Robin from GZA. I'll start. We initially submitted the RDA a little while back, and then it was requested by the commission to have the delineations reviewed by David Cameron. And so with the frozen ground conditions and snow cover, we wanted to wait until the site conditions were favorable. So David and I met at the site today. Joe was also there, looking at the lines with us. And David can speak a little more to this, and go through his results and what he found and recommendations. And then I can kind of come back in at the end if that's helpful.
That works.
Okay.
Can you folks hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay, for some reason, it says my camera is disabled. On
It
your-
is.
it is,
Okay, that's fine.
because we've had porno bombs or something.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Robin and Joe and I walked all of the flagged wetlands on the western portion of the Bullards Wood property, which is the study area that's the subject of the RDA. Which includes 3 isolated vegetated wetlands and a bordering vegetated wetland and an intermittent stream. And I walked every linear foot of each one of those resource areas that was delineated, and with rare exception, thought that the lines were perfect. We made a couple of field adjustments to the B and the C series isolated vegetated wetlands.
do we have
we
copies of this?
We made a slight adjustment to the B series IVW, and GZA needs to decide whether or not they want to revisit the C series IVW boundary. And then I think there was 1 or 2 flags that we agreed should be moved for the H series BBW. But other than that, everything looked really good to me.
good.
Will the final drawings show those minor adjustments, or do we not need to really see anything of it's that? minor?
We will need to get updated maps.
All right. So we will need the newest plans.
Yeah. So will you send us a copy of the latest plan?
Yes, and we, after, discussing the lines with David in the field and talking with Nat Arai, who is the project manager for this site, we decided that we would like to revisit the site again, a little more into the growing season, so mid-April, just to reassess those isolated vegetated wetlands. And so we anticipate there might be some slight modifications to those lines at that point, and then we'll send the revised figure to you for your review.
Okay, will you send it to David for review?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay, so you want to continue this meeting or this year?
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have, we have April 8th and 20th for our next 2 meetings. Do you have a preference, like the 22nd?
The 22nd would be best. Yeah, thank you. That would, I think, give us enough time to get back out to the site to reassess.
Okay.
David, are you going to this second visit?
What I would suggest, Ron, is that Robin sends me a copy of the revised existing conditions plan, and I'll review that based on what we discussed in the field today. And if I have any questions about it, I will go back and do another investigation. I have a pretty good sense in my mind where those flags should be, and if I see those locations on a revised plan, I probably don't need to go back, but I'll reserve a decision on that until I see what GZA presents.
Okay, think, site visit on this? Can
We
go-
haven't.
Can we go take it?
We could. I
I'd
mean,
like to, yeah.
yeah,
Robin, could you send us a date and time for your next trot through the woods at Board Woods in the fields? There's a few of us that might, if we're available, we might like to see what's the plan, what the plan is on this. If you could give us a heads up.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Okay,
All
I'll
right,
send an initial date and then obviously we'll keep an eye on the weather. But
Yeah.
as soon as I have a date in mind, I'll let you know.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I keep this for a while?
Yes.
so
I'll get it
we're
back to you.
waiting on the town of Stockbridge Town Beach installation until we do our site visit on
April 4th.
April 4th.
I would have sat there a long time waiting.
I know.
Went last Friday.
Yeah, how was the beach?
Beautiful, beautiful, quiet.
Geese there already?
No.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, so that's on April 4th.
And we have Ice Glen. You did the site visit.
All right, yeah, Brian's from the Foresight and representing the owners of One Ice Glen. And we did a site visit a couple weeks ago. The idea, this is the outbuilding, the barn that's between the two houses. And they're really just looking to adjust the driveway actually away from the BBW, more or less, which is down the slope to the east. And so the green areas are existing gravel being converted to lawn, and then the yellow would be the readjusted driveway corridor. It's a total net decrease in impervious area of 300 square feet. And part of that is to reorient this parking area behind the barn so that it's more convenient for turnarounds and parking, and then put up a small retaining wall, which has
I didn't ask when we were there, but it's not a barn anymore, is it?
it's a accessory building. It's a garage, but it has a finished upstairs, second story.
That doesn't affect us though, right?
No,
No, and the RDA we did was for the siding and redoing the dormers on the actual building. This is more the site work. This is the landscape architect, LeBlanc Jones, put this plan together. But along with this driveway reconfiguration would be replanting of all the garden beds that are around it. We're proposing planting 7, I think, total of 7 trees and a number of shrubs, mostly winterberry holly. And nothing else is really changing on the site. And again, this is the only portion that's closer to the wetland, but again, it's an improvement because we're adding a filter strip at the edge of the driveway to catch any of the runoff. So we thought it warranted a notice of intent, but I think the project itself is a general improvement of the existing conditions.
I don't have any problems with that.
I make a motion to accept the plans and close the hearing.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Hi,
Ally, aye.
Hi, Bill,
Hi, Lisa.
Jamie.
All
Joe.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, if you want to hang around for a minute, I have the paperwork for the Blaine, no, not you, for 8 Bean Hill.
Okay, that's already been approved.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't, but I did the paperwork because everybody's all hopped up to
Right.
sell stuff.
I'll be there.
23 Mackinac Road. Notice of intent.
We have new blood.
Oh,
Boy.
how's it going? My name's Aaron. I'm with White Engineering and I'm
What's your last name, Aaron?
Biazin.
That's right. I did know that.
I think the last time I was here, I was actually with Berkshire Engineering about 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And Shannon usually takes you guys. So this is 23 Mackinac Road. The main scope of this project is they're getting rid of this existing kind of storage shed. It's not really a boathouse, it's fully on land. A new one's gonna go in its place, same size on helical piers. Then they're also proposing a new dock. And then this area is kind of just like kind of a bunch of scrub vegetation that they just want to remove. And then they're gonna be planting it with native plantings. Nature Works came up with a planting plan. There are 11 what we define as larger shrubs that need 5-6 feet of space. And
What is there now?
Junk.
It's all that
Yeah.
junky stuff.
Invasive stuff.
And you're gonna remove it?
Multiflora
Yep.
rose.
It's all tangly.
You need to put some sort of erosion control until everything.
We do have silt fence and straw wattle down at the base.
All right, continue.
And then there was one roof leader drain that was found. So we're gonna put a stone apron at the end of that just to prevent any erosion for in the future. I believe that when you guys met for the site visit, there's a 16-inch birch that was an issue, so we proposed to remove that, and then we added 2 serviceberry plantings in its place.
And you'll cut that and leave the stump
Yep.
around, right?
Yeah, there won't be any stump removal.
Okay.
And then I also know Natural Heritage has not gotten back to us. So you guys can't give us an official answer, but if there's any comments or anything you want to see added to the plans, figure this would just at least be a good time to get feedback.
What's the scale of the plan? 20, maybe?
This one's 10.
10?
Is the dock in a replacement for the dock that's there, or is that a entirely new location, new dock?
I don't know if it's, well, I believe the original, wasn't in the survey, but when you look at the aerials, there's kind of like a point where like the land comes out a little bit. So this layout right here is to meet the Stockbridge dock standards of 25 feet from the mean high water. So we don't want to put it out on that point because that point in high water season can be underwater. So we're proposing it to attach it right to the existing dock or the existing deck that is down at the base. So I think it's still in the same location, but it'll be a new dock.
And it's gonna get a chapter 91.
Yep. And one of Mark's comments was about the storage shed having a chapter 91. The storage shed doesn't go over the mean high water, so
What's the foundation on the present shed?
Looked like rocks,
Yeah, it looked like it was stone.
piles of
It's not a poured concrete thing.
No,
loose rocks.
and maybe some cinder blocks. I don't know.
All right, so that stuff just goes away and then they
That
put
just
the
goes away.
piers in,
Piers.
yeah,
goes away, doesn't go into the water.
nope, and it's leaving, it'll be put in a dumpster and the dumpster will be taken out of the town.
And this is all handwork, right? Or
The removal of
taking
this
that out.
will be done by an excavator and the excavator will be stationed uphill and reach downhill.
All right. Anybody have any more questions?
No, it looked pretty straightforward when we were out there. So
Motion?
Seemed like an improvement.
Well, we have to wait for,
So,
We have to wait for Heritage.
Yep.
all right. Anything changes, let us know.
Will do.
So we'll continue to the 8th.
Yep. Welcome, then
Great.
I believe I'm next.
You are.
Again. Page 2.
So this plan was from 2011. It was
say what it is for the,
for 46 Prospect Hill.
Okay.
It was approved in 2011. It has an order conditions that is still open. The only things for this project that were done were this well was drilled, the existing house, which is this, I roughed it in with this orange line. The existing house was removed. This was the proposed house at the time. This greenhouse, the concrete slab is still sitting there in place. Other than that, there's been no other work. We have new clients that are looking to build a house here, and we gotta just close out that old order of conditions.
Garage was removed as well.
Oh, yes, the garage was.
And do we have a updated or do we have a recent?
They're looking for a certificate of compliance on the work that was
So then you're not
and
talking
was
about-
not done.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Everything that's gone is gone.
Okay.
Right. So I think we should issue a certificate of compliance for that.
Need a motion?
Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 46 Prospect Hill, map 211, lot 21.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Bill.
Bill,
The other Bill.
other Bill.
Aye.
Okay. And I prepared it because everybody's trying to sell everything. So you want to wait a minute or two, I can go make copies. And you can take it with you.
I do have one other question for you guys. So today we submitted a project at 35 Nielsen Lane. It's a notice of intent, demolition of existing house, building a new house, all buffer zone work. And we were just wondering if we could set up a site visit with you guys.
I sent it out to be advertised, so it'll be on for the 8th.
Okay.
But you're asking if we can do a site visit before then?
Yeah, just schedule one.
We don't have anything else?
I'm okay if we want to tack it on to the 4th,
Okay.
You could do
but
the
if we
fourth.
can we do that?
Sure. So 4, what time? We haven't, we did we set a time for the,
I think
No.
we set it,
We set a time for the.
other one
break
was
at
at 3.
I think it was 3 o'clock, yeah.
3 PM.
So right around. It's up on, when you go up Hawthorne Road and you go up Hawthorne Street, Nielsen Lane is, it's almost, you'd think it was in Lenox, but it's not.
Is it one of those little side?
It's a side little street that just, I was
30 guys.
35, yes.
property.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So I expect that we're gonna need time at the beach, yes?
So
Maybe
We're gonna
3:40,
do 3:45,
Exactly.
3:45, Ron.
will that work?
For Nielsen Lane?
Yeah.
All right. Yes,
Bill and Bill,
Works for me, Bill R.
I might
I'm
not-
out of town, so I'm not gonna be able to.
Yeah,
be
I
there.
might be out of town too. I'll let everybody know.
Oh, I think.
35 minutes.
Yes.
3:45.
the right day, I'm all set.
Don't look at me.
Well, I've done worse too.
You all have.
She mailed hard copies.
Yep, we dropped them off today.
Okay,
Okay,
we're gonna make some copies of this.
and then we have Brian's certificate, so I can make both of these. Unless you want me to just go do that
Sign these
now.
two. What's this?
This is 8 Bean Hill. So I have to make copies of both of these if we're gonna give them out to them.
All right, let's move on for a second then. Where are we?
We are at Arnold Shore, 8 Bean Hill Road.
Oh, again. So I'm representing Arnold Shore, who is the owner of Bean Hill Road, which is another one we visited.
Yep.
This is from 2003, I believe. It's pretty old, just looking to get a certificate of compliance on the books, because the property is for sale, possibly under contract. I can't, but the idea is, when they did this notice of intent, because the entire property is surrounded by BVW and there's an intermittent stream to the east of it, they wanted to build several additions on the house, and then put the sewer line, a new sewer line, down the center of the driveway underground to tie into the town sewer at the road. So that work was done as far as I can tell. I think it's all been completed. Certainly the additions are there and the sewer line is functional because there's a Title V done, so. That's the.
Can we get a copy of the Title V?
Not bring it down.
Just to send it to me.
Okay, so I sure do that. I know it passed, but I don't.
Just like to have it in the record. All right, so I thought it was fine to motion to issue the certificate of compliance, close the hearing.
I'll second that too. I was there.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Bill.
I, Bill R.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so I'm gonna go make copies of both of these and you guys can, but we gotta sign this one. And you guys can take them with you. Save us $16.
Mhm.
Or more. I think it's up to 18 now, but I think it's $9 a piece to send a registered return receipt.
We had a brief discussion about fees and
Yeah.
we need to,
Okay,
so
we should probably put that on the agenda for the next time, though. Probably be an open hearing and that people know we're doing it.
all right. I'm gonna skip over the Stockbridge Industrial Park till you come back.
Oh, they need a stormwater permit too for
This is,
35 Nelson.
you got both of those.
And we have.
We haven't done, I don't know if we have a hard copy. She's got it digitally.
Yeah, all right, so it's 35 right there.
And 41 Main can come off of this.
Something change?
Well, it's not, the trustees are doing a delineation.
Mhm.
White engineering will do it. And we'll use it if we need it. So it's no longer.
No POD district guidelines, we haven't had any discussion on that, on finalizing anything. Or changing anything. All right, Raised road, bless you. This is still, we have not formally had any presentation from them
For us.
for us. So until we do, because things change so
Mhm.
rapidly, I think we just kind of table that till we get something.
Mhm. You
Ma-
haven't reviewed that, right, David?
David, have you seen anything on the DeSisto property?
I provided the commission with some initial comments, oh gosh, at least a couple months ago, based on, I think it was a planning board submittal.
All right. I don't know where that sits right at the moment. I don't think it's progressed very far.
I think it's under peer review. Not,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Yes. We're still waiting for the peer review to come back.
so whatever happens will be continued to some point in time. Moffett property?
As I recall, they wanted to do a clearing out in the northern portion of the property. It looked to me like they were going to repurpose or reuse an existing road that goes out to where they wanted to make the agricultural area, but they were going to cut quite a bit of trees to make the agricultural area, which would be probably well in excess of the 10,000 square foot threshold for your stormwater bylaw.
Right.
They talked about 17 acres.
Yeah.
I think that certainly,
It's a lot
I
more
think
than
it's
10,000.
way down the line, though. They're doing, my understanding is they're doing it in segments, so that when and if that happens, it won't be for a while.
could be years
Yeah,
going
or never.
we're talking about the DeSisto
DeSisto.
and the 17 acres.
That
It's
we've
not,
not
it's
gotten
not
any.
happening. It's not in the first phase of the work.
All right, let's go back to Stockbridge Industrial Park.
Okay, we're presumably getting a filing from Mohammed, a notice of intent for our next meeting.
Nothing in it.
No.
Do we hear anything back from DEP?
No. They'll comment when they get the notice of intent.
Mhm. We had just for everybody's knowledge, we had a notice that there was something that looked like it shouldn't be going on down at the Stockbridge Industrial Park.
Like where?
Like clearing, digging holes, spreading gravel.
Right.
And not only is it within 200 feet of the river, it's right up to the river.
So it's,
It's in a floodplain, right?
yes, it is. So we have three layers of regulations. We have the town regulations, we have the state regulations, we have federal regulations. And he did not think that he needed a permit for this work. So we told him that maybe that was not the case.
So,
So the work is already done.
no.
Partially done.
Partially. We kind of.
But there's fill in the floodplain and the
Oh.
riverfront.
His original goal was to clean up the debris that had been dumped there over the years.
Okay.
Well, there was one pile of debris still to be removed. He said that 3 or more had been removed
Yeah,
already.
he said he'd taken out truckloads of junk because apparently people just go down there and dump their
Tires
refuse
and
instead of
beds
going
and
to the transfer station. So he was, you know, he was trying to do a good thing. He was trying to clean up his property and get it ready for alternate use, which may or may not be permittable because the alternate use that he's considering is in the floodplain and the riverfront. So, and there are a number of storage units that are in the floodplain and the
Is
riverfront.
it already developed riverfront?
It is now.
It is now, yeah, it's a good question as to whether it was.
It's like a
So,
gravel parking lot.
so it's kind of a lot of questions that are going to need to be answered.
So we may call you, David.
Okay.
A lot of questions. So I think I sent you, did I send you information on the industrial?
I don't think so, not yet.
I don't think
Okay, so it's on East Main Street. And I forget exactly what, but you'll be able to tell. It's kind of a long skinny property on East Main Street, right on the river.
Okay.
And it's just only industrial zoned piece of property in town that isn't right in the middle of town. And it's been kind of a disaster all of its life.
Is it across from the old gas station?
No, it's right almost on the.
It's on the
South Lee
river.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Just as you go
As
into.
you're going down the hill,
It's on your right. if you're
It's
going
on the
down.
right, yeah, you don't really see it, but there's a house that's right on the river there too, so there's a lot
There's a lot of
there's a
apartments.
lot of stuff going on
So,
down
but
there.
they haven't submitted this yet.
They have not.
Okay.
And you can't tell when you're driving there. I go past it often.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, you can't tell if it's in, I thought it was in Lee.
No,
It's not.
it's not.
No.
It's Stockbridge.
It's in Stockbridge. But
Now he's got signs up and supposedly cameras try to deter the dumping. But
It's had a checkered history
yes,
in a lot of ways.
I won't get into it. Though it looks a little like a used auto part store down in Tierney.
it does. It did.
Yeah, so it's going to be complicated, I think.
Just about everything that's not. There's a drive that goes all the way around the buildings.
Right.
Everything, almost everything, and I didn't measure. But on the opposite side from the building and that driveway is within 200 feet.
Oh,
You
definitely.
can't tell what it was before, now that there's gravel down.
Oh, no. There was a big pile of topsoil, there's logs, they're spread out.
So, he wants to, I think, park stuff there. May not be able to. He may have to replant and, I mean, it's a noble effort to clean it up because God knows it's a
It could look like the rest of it.
disaster. But he may not be able to do what he wants to.
Has he been the owner for a long time?
His father owned it before him, and I think his father was more of a hands-off owner than Muhammad.
Okay.
I think Muhammad is trying to do the right thing, but
Okay.
unfortunately, he has come up a cropper, as they say, of the wetlands regulations.
And nothing toxic got spilled, right?
Who knows?
No.
There have been rumors for years that
Okay.
all kinds of stuff has happened down there that
I've-
shouldn't.
I've seen literally, I've picked out, I've walked on the brook there down when it's been low to the river, and I have pulled out of there tires myself, a piece of a car.
Ew.
Oh yeah, when we first bought the house, I figured I'm gonna clean this up because it was awful. At the bottom of the brook and then coming in front of our house. Yeah,
I did the stream survey, I don't even remember when, it was probably 10 or 15 years ago, between Lee and the dam in Glendale in a kayak. On November 4th, actually, and it was like 80 degrees. It was really amazing. And it's astounding how much junk is on all the banks. I mean, people have just dropped everything right over the bank into the river.
There's
It's
the man that knows.
scary, yes. It's really scary stuff. And this is, when you go through the golf course, there are all these little round balls all around. Pretty funny. But I guess people go and get them out. I don't know.
Any other business?
Danny,
Would you like to talk to us? Well.
My favorite board.
Brian, did you have something you needed?
Oh, no, I'm just saying. I'm very handicapped hearing wise, so, just in a general way, can I comment off the listed topics or maybe
Sure.
relevant? I think that, over the last couple of years, I've encouraged, the town to engage the services of hydrogeologists and the state geologists to investigate the sources of water coming into the Lake Averick.
which is Oracle Lake, which is it's a sole source water supply for a large proportion of the town. And I haven't read any of the reports or anything, but I think it would be really interesting if the board was to take a look at any findings which may have been reported over there. In a general sense, I believe that as much as 40% of the water coming into our town reservoir is coming from bedrock. In other words, it's coming from below the horizon between soil and the calcareous bedrock. And that's really interesting because I think that our bylaws are set up to deal with water which, you know, runs on the surface or runs through the soil on top of bedrock. And the assumption is that the bedrock is pretty impervious. But I picked up some of this by watching what was going on over in Lee with the studies for that UDF that they're doing. And so.
Want to explain UDF, please? Explain UDF.
I'm sorry?
Define UDF.
Upland disposal facility, GE's PCB, their planned PCB dump. And
we have, I mean, people, I don't know how many people come back and watch the meetings on Zoom, but
yeah,
you kind of have to
So,
assume
I mean,
that
what
they
we're
might or may not.
Is that we're in this calcium bedrock valley with overlayers of other kind of rock. And, you know, the bottom and the sides of the Stockbridge Bowl are all white rock. We know that. I mean, we've slipped around on it as kids and seen those boulders and water moves through that stuff differently than it does through our soils. And you're the water people, and I just thought it would be interesting to maybe designate somebody from your board to find out what did water and sewer discover. I think they have had a study going on and maybe analyze how it might relate to the town as a whole. I mean, specifically to groundwater recharge in areas next to the water supply, but also how it might be affecting the town as a whole. And
come in.
Maybe we could invite Mike Buffoni to come in and maybe we could invite Mike Buffoni to come in and talk to us.
I would urge you to do that, but I would also urge you to request, if there is a report from UMass, from the hydrogeologist at UMass, that you get a copy of it and you take a look at it too, because sometimes there are competing interests. And yeah.
Do you have a specific concern, something that you're worried about?
You never know what comes up.
Yeah, I never know what comes up. Thank you, though. It's a very good question, obviously. You know, we have these calcareous formations like Campusa is major. And the reason that those rare and endangered species are there is because they're buffered by the calcium from the acid rain. And the same true with the Swan, that large fish and wildlife property under Monument Mountain. That's all, you know, go over there and wow, I won't say anything more, but it's cool. And that's because of the calcareous stuff. So we got something going on here, which is really special. And the more we understand it, the better. That's pretty much where I leave it.
It's almost,
Oh, sorry. Lisa and Bill, tell me how to spell your last name. I pronounced your last name, Bill, please. Bill R.
Ressa Terrace.
Sorry, I was looking at the map of.
Tell me how to pronounce your last name.
Yes, Ressa Terrace.
Okay, thank you. Are on the Campoosabog Stewardship Committee. I'm sorry?
Oh, on Campusa, yes.
Yes. So we've been sort of trying to link Agawam or not trying to link, but Fish and Wildlife has had a couple of proposals for both Campusa and Agawam for invasive species management. And so while the committee was specifically designed to address things on Campusa, it's also linked in many ways to Agawam. So
Yeah.
that's kind of already
It's
happening.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill, are you a person who knows about hydrology and stuff like that? I know you know about amphibians and stuff.
No, I'm not really a hydrologist. My expertise is more with species and species interactions and those sort of things. I mean, I know something about effects of aquatic chemistry on various organisms, but not really hydrology. It's not my area.
it seems to be leading towards karst topography, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I picked this up.
I guess there are special risks, which they were discussing over there in Lee in connection with that Lane property, which is a gravel bed on top of what's called a Stockbridge marble, which is that calcareous rock. And
How caverns underneath, huh?
pardon?
How caverns?
Calcareous, right? It sounds like fillings.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and that is that we who grew up in this area know that there are caves in the area,
Yeah.
and we have those are the source of stories, and not the kind of caves which are rock piles like you have in Ice Glen, but the kind of caves like French's Cave or some of the other ones where an underground trickle of water over a long period of time has dissolved the rock around it, and it's now something that you can crawl through. And so that creates what's called a tubular flow channel through bedrock. And what that means is that if you have water being recharged, say off a hillside, and a lot of water coming down, in a rainfall, that can fill up and act like a culvert and move a large volume of water at speed. And so anyway, it's different than if it, say, came down into 30 or 40 feet of overburden and was slowed down, moving and spread out.
Yeah, I mean, it could contaminate our water supply rather quickly then. You don't have the filtering of soil or sand or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And some of the areas around our water supply have not much soil. And the bedrock is actually porous and very close to the surface. So
yeah, especially when you see them, something disappearing and then coming up again. Yeah.
Yes, that's a trademark of what's called karst, K-A-R-S-T, karst geology.
Okay,
And that's what Stockbridge is. I mean,
yeah, that's what I said. Absolutely. Okay.
anyway, I don't want to go
Yeah,
off on a deep end because I don't, you know, a lot of this is about my pay grade. I'm a canoeer and I grew up fishing.
Okay.
So, but I know that you guys are really interested in water, so.
You're probably the smartest canoeer I've ever met, Denny.
I know another canoeer in your family.
Not currently.
Anyway, no personal remarks.
So this karst geology is interesting because this one property that we've just been looking at recently, we talked about whether it was a perennial or an intermittent stream. And I know from my travels up on Rattlesnake that there are many, many springs that come up and down and up and down. And some of them have been captured in cisterns and various sort of, not industrial, but, you know, the Hill water supply, for instance, and the spring house that's on the Frelinghuysen property and all of these things that are not being mapped because they go underground at some point. So, you know, I think that this is a really valid thing to be looking at.
So that whole dichotomy between intermittent and permanent is really kind of a false dichotomy because there are a lot of losing streams that go underground for a while, come back up. And so that flow is pretty much continuous. It just isn't obvious on the surface. And there are lots of organisms that live in that substrate that are actually down in the underground streams. I mean, there are, you know, I grew up in Missouri, so the cave state. So I know a bit about karst topography and, you know, the dynamics of that. And yeah, things can get transmitted a long way in karst topography because there are these underground streams and they're not even underground. They may not be permanent, but when you get a large rain event, you know, you can have things travel long distance. My backyard had a sinkhole when I was growing up, and things that went into the sinkhole could end up 5 miles away in the Merrimack River. And so it really, you know, it really is a conduit, and you really have to be aware that it can serve as a conduit for, you know, it can be good to be a conduit. It can also be really bad if you got something that's leaching into the ground or just running off and flowing into those habitats, those locations. So I think this is a good thing to really look into, along with what we were talking about. The hydrology of Kampusa. Again, I'm not a hydrologist, but I think we need to know more about, you know, even going back to the whole salt issue, what happens to the salt, how much of the salt flows on the surface, how much of the salt may actually dissolve and flow underground into Kampusa and other habitats. So I think there's a lot we need to learn about this, especially considering we have this very unique habitat in Kampusa, and we have this very critical habitat in the lake that is the water supply. So, you know, we could, I think, make a case that the same processes are important for both of those types of habitats.
and there is a problem with some wells from salt-laden water coming off the turnpike, you know, remember those
Yeah, mine.
contaminant years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's documented like this.
Well, we talked at the
President?
Kampusa meeting last night about the money that has been set aside for a hydrology study
Do to stop.
that was never used.
Right.
So, and we had lots of ideas of how to spend that money, but this may be an idea to do that kind of study.
Well, thank you for your consideration of that idea. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Watch the agenda and see
It's
if it
important.
shows up, or if Mike, watch our agenda to see if it's on the agenda, or if Mike Buffoni's coming to talk to us so that you're
Thank you.
here.
You can give him a call.
You'll call him?
Hmm.
Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
You should come more often, Denny.
Thanks. Thanks.
You can take 41 Main off.
Okay.
That doesn't need to be on there anymore.
Okay, before we adjourn, just to confirm, April 4th, Town Beach,
Yes,
3:00.
yes.
Yes.
April 4th, 35 Nielsen Lane, 3:45.
Yes.
Did you say Palm Beach? Oh, Town Beach.
Any other place?
We're not going to Florida.
Got it right there. Any other business?
Site visit thing. The next time we want to talk about fees, like what
Cost.
we get for money. We are permitted to set our own fees. We do not currently have a fee for the stormwater permit.
Oh,
And nor do we have, and I'm not sure that I would want to recommend something for the tree. But I'd rather have that be free, frankly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd rather have people
come to us.
come to us rather than
Right.
do it on.
Do you know what other towns charge for stormwater, David? For a stormwater fee?
Most of the other towns that I do this kind of work for, Lisa, do not have a stormwater bylaw.
They don't have a fee.
No.
Or they don't have a bylaw. Okay.
All right, so in this discussion, we will discuss what we charge and what it costs the town to do some of these.
David, what do other towns charge for an RDA?
A lot of towns, even with bylaws, don't charge anything for an RDA.
Okay.
Some of the nuances of their bylaws might require abutter notifications for an RDA, whereas, as you know, this, that's not required under the Wetlands Protection Act. Some towns charge a nominal fee for RDAs, like maybe $100.
That's what we charge. I was just wondering if that was reasonable.
Yeah, I don't think that's atypical for the towns that charge for that.
How about filings? Both of,
The NOIs are prescribed. There's a,
It's a list.
yeah, there's a formula for what they charge for an NOI.
and
So we don't have anything to do with that.
and publications.
We could add on to it if we wanted to, but I don't know.
We'll have that discussion. All right, any other business? Someone like to make a motion?
I make a
Sorry,
motion.
folks, I don't mean to butt in, but I just wanted to give you an update on a couple of other items. I was
Okay.
in Stockbridge most of the day today. And in addition to doing the delineation review at Bullard's Woods, I swung by the Moffett property on Interlaking Crossroad.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Request. And yes, Sally, you were right. I was looking, there are two parcels that are adjacent to each other that are both mapped 211 parcel 33, but one is 33.2. So you're correct. The one that's 33.2 is mostly wetland. And it's patently obvious just from driving down the road that most of it is wetland. And that matches what is shown on Mass GIS. So that's the
Okay.
one that's the one well, it's weird because the for sale signs are actually on the one that I was looking at, which is the one that's mostly uplands, which is a little bit farther down the road, closer to number 6 Interlaking Crossroad. But what's shown, bottom line is there are two big parcels, and what's shown on Mass GIS looks to be pretty accurate based on what I saw in the field.
Okay. So we'll have to make sure that we're talking about the right plot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard from various people that some people think it's that upland plot rather than the wetland plot. And so there's a lot of confusion that I've heard about what actual property is being considered. The wetland looks amazing. The upland looks like a chunk of upland, that doesn't have anything particularly special about it. And so it's really important that I think we figure out what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the for sale signs are tacked on trees in front of the upland parcel.
There's a house up there somewhere in the back, and there's been rumor that there was a trailer up there, which is not permittable in Stockbridge. So I'm not sure what, there's a driveway that goes up behind the wetland
Yeah.
parcel.
And you can see a tiny little structure on Mass GIS. It's probably a camper or travel trailer. Or
Yeah,
something.
which, you know,
Yeah.
is not supposed to be there, but it's been there for a long time.
I also swung by Dugway Road to look at that one. I didn't see anything that looked much different than the last time I was there, which was before the site was covered in snow. I didn't see any major problems with that site.
Good.
I also swung up to Eden Hill to check on that project, and I didn't see any problems with stormwater coming off of the project onto the interior road or to Prospect Hill Road. I did notice that there's a fair amount of mud that's being tracked onto both the interior road and a portion of Prospect Hill Road. The contractors have a tracking pad at the entrance of their site off of the interior road that looks like it's in pretty good shape. I just think it's, there's so much activity going on up there. It's just a frequency of trips that are, causing some amount of sediment to get tracked onto the roads. That's something that we probably should just keep an eye on.
Did it seem like it was clay, David? That sticks for a while?
It was very fine grained mineral deposits. Yeah. So, what a common practice for dealing with that is, you get a street sweeper and you just clean it up.
I don't think Stockbridge has a street sweeper.
If it gets really
They
bad,
rent one.
if it gets really bad, the contractor could probably just handle that. Street sweepers, there are pros and cons to that. It also ends up sometimes entraining a bunch of dust into the air, and you've got what look to be some pretty nice residences along Prospect Hill Road that probably don't want a bunch of dust clinging to their windows and siding from a street sweeper. So you just have to kind of weigh the pros and cons. But the project itself looked like it was, in good shape. I didn't see any sediment coming off of the project via stormwater.
Well, that's good.
Thank you
you.
for looking at all that.
Sure.
You had a nice tour of Stockbridge. Good.
Yeah. It was a
Yeah,
good day.
it's good. Yeah,
It was a nice day.
yeah, good.
Thank you for going to Zero Dugway, because that was on my to-do list this week, and now I'll skip till next week.
Yeah, they're starting, the house is under construction up there now.
Any other business? Again, I will ask.
Think so.
Now we'll try to make a motion.
Seeing as though there's none, make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Sally.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Karen.
I, Bill R.
Hi, Bill L.
All right, thank you all.